Thank you very much for the invitation, and the task what I got is to report about the role of the Hungarian higher education in the innovation activities in Hungary. If we look at the European Union Innovation Scoreboard, there are three main dimensions of this evaluation scoreboard, and if you look at the individual elements like human resources, the excellence-based support, financing, R&D activities at companies, technology transfer between the participants of this market, the IP issues, innovative companies. I think that if we go through this list, then we can see that the higher education, especially in Hungary, plays a very important role in all of that. If you look where Hungary is in the innovation evaluation, I think that it's quite visible that we are at the moderate innovator category, which of course we would like to see ourselves in a different positions within the next time. What is the reason for this? That we are only moderate innovators. If we look at the different reasons, then we can compare the European Union average with the Hungarian. The only point where we are rather strong, but it comes out of the size of our economy and also the structure of our economy, this is the impact, the economical impacts. In the other points, like human resources, the research and research system, the financing, especially the entrepreneurial R&D activities, technology transfer, we are somehow far from the target. The question is what the Hungarian higher education system can do in order to resolve the situation and improve the situation. The reason I'm here today because we started to finalize the strategy of the Hungarian higher education. As all the other Eastern Central European countries, after the political changes at the end of the 90s, 25 years, we also changed the higher education system. On one hand, 25 years is a long time, but on the other hand, looking at the dynamics of the higher education, the 25 years is not a very long time, but it's just enough to conclude what we have achieved so far, and we need to also define the directions where the Hungarian education is going to go. This document will be published next week in a certain circle of experts and organizations. I will today point out only the for R&D relevant issues. Just going through of the points, the human resources. After introducing the Bologna system, we have changed the former postgraduate system. It became very strongly a sort of education. So it's the next level of the organized education system, and now we see what the problem is. Out of this system, when the tutor and the student relationship was somehow changed, the impact is rather sufficient. Only 50% of the total PhDs, they conclude their studies, and if you look at their degree, so obtaining the PhD, this level is even lower. So 25% of the total enrolled students, PhD students, is going to get their degree. So this is insufficient. So we need to very strongly work on that. We have different options how to modify the system, keeping it within the 2 days frame, but significantly improving the efficiency. We need to also send our students abroad, especially the excellent students. Currently, roughly 10% takes or participates in other universities in Europe and outside of Europe. Here, we need to increase this level up to 20%, as it is usual, for example, the European Union. Very important point, not only the outbound but the inbound internationalization of the Hungarian education system. We are not that bad today, so 7.8% of the total students in Hungary is coming from other countries, but still this is not sufficient. So the target that we are going to increase this level, there are different targets why we want to do it. The major target is basically to get these relationships with international students and after that profiting out of this. The next point is we need to reorganize the research system and the research funding. Instead of focusing on the institutions, we need to focus on talents. And the talent doesn't mean necessarily the institution. It can be also the institution, but we need to look at other opportunities. We need to focus the activities within the higher education institutions and also among the institutions. It is not very common that the institutions are cooperating with each other. So the financing system should promote the idea that we don't have to elaborate everything alone. So we need to build on the cooperation among the universities. Instead of the research university structure, we would like to emphasize more on the national excellence centers, which does not mean necessarily a complete institution. It can mean a discipline, it can mean a department, it can mean only an institute. I think that this is a much more efficient way of financing. The last point is, I find it very important that we need to increase the grant given to excellent people, small groups, small research teams. It can be professor, it can be postgraduate student as well. But on the other hand, we need to raise also the interest of the institute. Why do they take this kind of students? So we are going to elaborate this system as well. Sorry, I'm just saying here statements, but we are roughly at the final stage of this document. So that's why the level of elaboration is on the strategic target level. If you look at generally the Hungarian R&D expenditures, this has developed during the last years. Here you can see the last year statistics of the Ecostat, which was 1.3%. If you look at the Hungarian statistics last year, it already increased to 1.44%. On one hand, this is very good, but on the other hand, from the perspective of the higher education system, it is not so positive because this increase came from the companies. If you look at the higher education system, then we are, since roughly 10 years, at 0.24% of the total GDP which will be spent for R&D in the higher education. So this level is still not sufficient, and all the actions what we are currently defining, we are going to double it at least. What is the reason for that? How do we think to do it? If you look at the complete budget of the Hungarian higher education system, we talk roughly about 400 billion Hungarian forints, which is operatively spent in the higher education structure. If you look at the source of the financing, then we can conclude that currently 50% of this amount comes from the state, and only 25% is what is coming from the other community type of sources. Like we talk about the EU sources, we talk about the local Hungarian sources. If we look a little bit deeper into this 25%. This year, then we can conclude that out of this, less than one half is only for research and development. The other is other type of projects. The level of the other income to the higher education, I would say it's quite okay if you look at the system from the robustness point of view. This is basically tuition fees and other fees. What is not very good, this is the direct R&D type of resources, which is obtained by real projects. So it's coming from the industry, coming from the society. This level is very low. We talk about 1.5% roughly. So this level is insufficient. If you want to keep a stable and robust system, then these 5 elements, they must be somehow balanced out. But of course, it just conserves the current situation. So the target is that keeping the amount coming from the government and increasing the other sources. There is a very important or very interesting thing. This is the donation, or fundraising or this kind of issues. In Hungary, virtually it doesn't exist. It exists in Western Europe, it exists in North America, and very well used, but in Hungary, unfortunately, it doesn't exist. Also, one element of the strategy to force the companies, the former students of the university, to make also this kind of donations. It is a very important part because it's a free amount what the university can use. So this is about the financing. The next point where the universities play a very important role, this is the technology transfer. If we look at the next period, the next EU financing period, the next virtually 6 years, that the amount of the potential funding for innovation, especially innovation of companies, it is a huge amount. We talk roughly about yearly 150 billion Hungarian forints just to build a relationship. The complete Hungarian companies from own resources, they spend roughly this amount. That means that we are going to double this amount. So, but who's going to use it? Of course, the intention is that the Hungarian-owned companies, especially the SMEs, they will utilize this money in order to boost their economic activities and to be able to regain this money after this support period is over. But from their own resources, they will not be able to do it most probably. So we need to give support. If you look at the Hungarian research arena, then it is very easy to conclude that the universities have the largest potential, the largest capacity. Also, the distribution of the universities all over Hungary provides that platform which can efficiently support these companies in order to get innovative products while in fact stabilize their activities. Of course, we need to change a few things. We need to establish the frame at the university for this kind of collaboration. We need to change also the law of finance because the universities currently cannot act freely as a normal entrepreneur, but they need to follow special rules which is typical for the state-owned or state-run companies. So I would say this needs to be changed. And there are also some other solutions, opportunities, how to let the results of the innovation go into the society. I just pointed out one here, the smart city or creative city type of solutions. We need to involve in this innovation a much broader range of the society, not only the companies, but also small communities, people, individual people as well. A very important point is the IP. We had recently quite a few bad years when the number of the filed patents from the Hungarian authorities was rather low. There is a specific reason for that. The reason is that this mentioned 150 billion forint is spent mostly by multinational companies. The multinational companies, they don't apply for patents in Hungary. They apply it either for European patents or in other countries. That's the reason that this relatively huge R&D capacity generates so low output as far as the IP protection is concerned. Since 2 years, we started to recognize an increase. The number of the filed patents in Hungary has increased, and what is very good to see that the universities, they started to be very active. So currently they produce 15% of the totally filed patents from Hungary, and the target is that we are going to increase it in the future. This is one of the key elements of an effective R&D activity. Not going into details because my time is running out. As I mentioned, the universities must play a much more intensive role in the development of innovative companies, not only supporting them but also generating startup and spin-off companies with that IP what they create. I think that this understanding is already there at the universities, but it's not practiced in a manner as it has to be. In order to understand the demand of the companies, of the economy, there are different structures which are being defined. One of them is the cooperative education, or as we call it, as a dual education system. We have started it with some companies several years ago. In this year, the law of Hungarian National Higher Education defined the cooperative education form as a type. It is going to be rolled out from September of 2015, so students can apply for this. This has importance not because only we are generating qualified people for the labor market, but also here we build up relationship between the university and between the companies, the big companies, the medium, and also the small companies. So this is a very important element of this new strategy. So I think that I just wanted to give a short glimpse into this strategy. As I said, it will be published next week. We start a broader based discussion with all the stakeholders, and I'm quite sure that we will be able to close this, and the government is going to accept this somewhere at the December of this year. So thank you very much for your attention.